That's a nice fish. Oh, look at him. Look at him tearing off line. Oh, he's chunk. He is a chunk. Woo! Oh my. Collins Lake, baby. Oh, that's a nice fish. Oh my gosh. Come here, you. Oh my. Come on, baby. Oh, that's nice. Get the camera down in the water here, maybe. Just like that. Oh man. Look at that big old trout. Big old Collins Lake planter. Big old rainbow. I'm actually going to let this guy go. It's late in the day. Now, he swallowed that power bait. So rather than try to go in there and get it out of him, it's a tiny little hook. I'm just going to clip him off just like that. And away he goes. Power bait. Power bait is great, and that rhymes, but it's even better if you add a little bit of my power powder to it. It just gives it that little extra boost. Add those aminos, those bite stimulants, and you're just going to catch more and bigger trout. And it also makes power bait easier to deal with. When you mix a little bit of this powder with it on your hand and you roll it up, you're not going to get that power bait on your hands anymore. It's not going to be as messy, and it's going to be more effective. You're going to see power powder real soon up at the FHS fishing website. Been working on this stuff for about 3 years now, guys, and I think I got it figured out. Howdy folks, Cal Kellogg here, coming to you from the beautiful Sierra Nevada foothills. Welcome back to the channel. If you're not already a subscriber and you're interested in trout fishing, help me out, help yourself out. Hit that subscribe button and hit that bell notification, and you'll always know when I'm here on YouTube talking about trout fishing. This is the #1 trout fishing channel on YouTube for guys that like to fish with conventional gear. Trolling, casting, bait fishing. We cover it all. We cover it in depth. I've been trout fishing my whole life. I don't keep secrets. You know, I turn everything that I discover out on the water, everything I believe about trout fishing, right over to the viewers, because I am dedicated to helping everybody out there catch more and bigger trout. Enough of that. I'm bait fishing today. I'm out here. I'm testing a couple new scents. We're actually working on a couple scents. I am working on my trigger scent, which I pretty much got this perfected. I'm making a few little tweaks to it, and my power powder, it's an amino acid additive that you use in combination with power bait. It's proven to be really effective over the last couple of years. So anyway, I'm sitting here with my dog. We're double anchored, waiting for a fish to come along and gulp up some of this power bait in one of those rods behind me there. While I'm waiting, I wanted to talk about the top offerings I have been using over, say, the last 6 weeks, 45 days or so. Going back to Halloween, when we really started to transition into the fall pattern, and now we're starting to transition into the winter pattern. Water temperatures have consistently gone down. We've got a few major storms here in northern and central California. As a result, we've got some color in the water, which is actually a good thing, but the water is also pretty cold at this point. So I have been doing I guess you could say, Finesse presentations recently. I've been pulling some big spoons, some trigger spoons, some speedy shiners, even some Rapala, stuff like that. And I have been catching fish on those presentations, but by and large, the more Finesse presentations have been paying dividends. And this goes all the way back to the first week of November when I was up at Eagle Lake fishing with my buddy Pete. Between then and now, one bait has emerged as the #1 bait for me, and I'm going to show it to you. It is the orange Trout Trix minnow. That has caught more fish for me over the last 6 weeks than any other bait. I was doing a lot of high country fishing. I was running this, anywhere from about 1.5 to 2.2 miles an hour, rigged just like that with an action disc, setting about I'd say half an inch off the nose of the bait, trying to get that hook back as far as I can in the bait's body. That is especially important as the water temperature starts to decline and the fish get a little more tentative. They have a real tendency to come in and nip at the rear of a bait, and if you've got that hook back there, that band and hook point back there, there's a really good chance they're going to come nipping, and that hook is going to loop right around their jaw. Now, orange has been a really good color for me, but now that I'm down spending more time in the foothills, trigger minnows, or trout Trix minnows, have still been working really well, but I'm starting to get more fish on the white minnow. I was out at Amador last week with my buddy Abdul, and we enjoyed very good action on a white trout Trix minnow, and that makes sense. It's a shad lake. Trout in there, they feed on bait fish. They're used to, chasing light colored offerings. We were rolling these along at about 1.7, 1.8, and we did really well at Amador. We didn't catch any of those real giant trout there, but we got fish up to about, let's say 3.5, 4 pounds. We lost a really nice one behind the boat too. That was angler error on both of our parts. But anyway, orange trigger minnow, #1 bait for the last 6 weeks or so, but this white model is starting to come on strong. I've been playing with the trout Trix worms, but so far the minnow has been outperforming the worm, which is kind of interesting because that trout Trix worm, it is probably my all-time favorite trolling bait at this point. It just catches so many fish, but the minnow is kicking the worm's butt right at the moment. So that's my #1 offering. #2 offering has been, where is it? Oh, I got it rigged on a rod here. #2 offering has been a metalhead trolling fly. It just happened to have an orange one on there, but I've been running these in a variety of different colors. Same speed range, 1.5 up to like 2.2, something like that. I'm running an action disc right on the nose of the fly. And like I say, I got my whole box of, almost got a tangle there. Remember, if you're not tangling, you're doing it wrong. I got my whole box of metal heads here, and I've been running a variety of colors. And I haven't seen it yet, but what I expect to see is I was running a lot of this bright colored stuff up in the Sierras. And, I run a lot of bright colored stuff down here in the foothills too. But I expect to see the pink and white, the all white, the red and white. I expect to see those come on strong as I start spending more time at shad lakes. I'm supposed to go to Don Pedro soon. I'm going to go out to Folsom soon. Those are bait fish lakes. So I suspect that I'm going to start getting more action on the light colored stuff and less action on the orange stuff. But if you know me, it's real hard for me to go out fishing and not put an orange fly on, at least for part of the day. I run a lot of orange. I catch a lot of fish on orange. So, hey, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Would I catch just as many on pink? I don't know, probably, but the confidence means a lot. So you pretty much guarantee at some point during the day, whether I'm in the Sierras or in the foothills, I'm going to try that orange. But like I say, I think the white is going to come on strong. Speaking of coming on strong, I got a fly here that we're going to give honorable mention to. I've been running a lot of trigger boogers recently, and I've been running them right under the surface. I've been using some bobber stops to get the action disc, about like that. I'd say about 3/4 of an inch off the nose of the fly. Again, same speed range, kind of finesse speeds, 1.5 to 2.2. 1.7, 1.8 is often my target speed. But the trigger booger has been earning its keep. Let's just say that. Last 2 times I hit Amador, I caught fish on these, and caught some really nice fish on these when I was up in the Sierras at Lake Davis and also at Eagle Lake. So the trigger booger, it is working. If I had to choose between a trigger booger and a metalhead, I would probably lean towards the metalhead, only because I've caught so many monster fish, and I've caught so many monster fish for my clients on those metalheads. Top trout on that metalhead, that pink and white one, was caught right here at this lake. I'm out at Collins Lake. 13 pounds. So it's hard not to lean towards that fly when you've seen, big fish like that caught on it. Something I should mention, as the water gets colder, sometimes I'll take a little tiny piece of night crawler and I will just pin it on the hook. And I'm talking small, a 1/4 inch long piece, not a big giant piece, just enough, just a little piece of meat. I'll pin that on both the metal heads and the trigger boogers, and it just gives it that little bit of meat. It gives them a nice scent, a nice target. And again, they tend to nip when the water gets cold. And if you got a little piece of meat on that hook band, that's a great way to get them to nip right precisely at where you want them to nip, right on that hook. So that's a little trip you can employ if you get out there and say that water's 50 degrees or less. It's kind of hit and miss that day. Don't hesitate to chop up a worm, put a little piece of worm on your flies, because a lot of times that'll turn fish that are, kind of short strikers into hooked fish. It'll turn fish that, weren't really going to strike, fish that came up right to your bait and looked at it. It'll turn those into strikes a lot of times. So I am a fan of tipping. I tip with corn sometimes, tip with night crawlers a lot. And of course, when I'm fishing for king salmon, I'm tipping with mackerel or anchovy meat, something like that. But tip those flies with a little bit of worm when the water gets cold, and you're going to catch some bonus fish. I was up on that trip I took with my buddy Pete. We hit Elminor, which was a bust. We hit Eagle, and we hit Lake Davis. When we got to Lake Davis, I forget the exact temperature. It was cold. It was cold. The water was cold. And the last day we were there, we had a giant north wind. I mean, like 30, 35 kind of miles an hour kind of wind, like borderline dangerous wind. And water was in the middle 40s, as I recall. We weren't doing much. You can get a few fish early, and it was kind of a struggle. And I went up, took a break on shore, came back out in the kayak, put on an orange metalhead, and put on, just like I say, a little 1/4 inch piece of worm. And that was a game changer. Right away, I hooked, I can't remember. It wasn't a huge amount of fish, but it was 4 or 5 fish in a row on a really slow day. And I attribute that to just putting that worm on there and just giving it that little bit of extra attraction. So those are my top 2 baits. My Trout Trix minnows, my trolling flies. But I have been getting some fish on spoons. And no, I have not been power trolling with them. I have been using, more kind of finesse spoons. I have been running my Trigger Spoon Juniors. Number 1 color has been bright red with the silver back, not a chrome back, silver. I spend the extra money on my spoons to, the gold ones like this one, 24 karat gold, real silver on the silver ones. There's just something about that real metal. Don't ask me how the fish know. They know. I swear they know. If you're getting fish on brass spoons, if you put on a 24 karat gold spoon, you'll catch even more fish. So there's just something about that real metal. Number 1 color for me, big surprise, the red and silver, or the orange and silver. But number 2 has been, especially early in the morning or anytime it's overcast. And like I said, we've had a lot of storms up in this area. So been out on a lot of overcast days, although today it's beautiful. It's nice not to be out standing in the rain finally. But gold and copper, but especially gold. Gold has been good. Honorable mention in the spoon category goes to the pinhead. It's a very narrow spoon. It's fairly thick, weighs 1/8 of an ounce. Same colors, gold and the bright red silver back. Those have been working well at times, but I'm going to say that the Trigger Spoon Junior has been outperforming that, although I am catching some pretty nice fish on that pinhead from time to time. I know a lot of guys are really, really into and fascinated with speed trolling right now. My buddy Abdul is fascinated with speed trolling. And a lot of guys that have kind of just got into trout fishing maybe over the last decade or so, they think that speed trolling is something new. And it's really not. In the 90s, speed trolling with spoons and Rapalas was really, really popular. And then it sort of went out of style for a while, and guys started pulling some grubs and pulling some slower presentations and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden here a few years ago, we had a resurgence of fast trolling, power trolling with spoons. And, you know, the Speedy Shiner has emerged as the #1 spoon for that. And that's great. That's fun. That's fun fishing. If you can go out and troll anywhere from 2.5 to 3.5 miles an hour and bang those trout, hey, why not? But I got to tell you, you don't want to be a one-trick pony. You need some slower, try to say that, some slower, I still can't say it, slower trolling spoons in your arsenal. You got to think about speed, guys. I have spoons that I run fast, speed spoons, you know, Speedy Shiners, okay? Spoons that I'm going to run anywhere from 2.7 to 3+. That's fast. I have my medium speed spoons, spoons that I'm going to work in at 2.5 to 2.8 speed range. Those are my trigger spoons, okay? And I have spoons that I'm going to troll at the slow end of the spectrum. That's my Trigger Juniors, my micro triggers, and the pinhead. Although the pinhead's kind of unique because you can troll that guy slowly and you control him all the way through the whole speed spectrum. And that's one of the reasons I like that pinhead so much, because it's super versatile. It started its life as a jigging spoon, came from Sweden. A lot of times if you get a jigging spoon, you got to run it to see what it does. But a lot of times if you get a jigging spoon, they will run real nice at trolling speeds. Some of them will troll at one specific kind of speed range, but you might get lucky, you know, you get one like this that I kind of dubbed the pinhead. Don't know what they call it in Sweden, but it starts kicking at about 1.5, and you can take it all the way up to, you know, Speedy Shiner speed above 3 miles an hour, and it works. But just remember, guys, don't get in that speed rut. When you approach speed, break it down. You know what I do? I break it down into 3 speed ranges: fast, medium, and slow. Okay, have some lures in your box in each of those speed ranges, and it's important to kind of keep them in their own range. You don't want to run a fast trolling spoon with a slow trolling spoon at the same time, because one of the spoons isn't going to be working, you know, to an optimum level. It just doesn't work that way. When the water gets cold, a lot of times, if you want the absolute best results out on the water, you got to turn your attention to finesse trolling. Last couple trips at Amador, me and my partner, we've been doing real well, but most people have not. I see them out there pulling Speedy Shiners, pulling Rapalas, going really fast, and they are catching a few fish, but that is not the optimum presentation right now. Those trigger minnows pulled it around, you know, 1.7, 1.8. That has just been money, and we have not struggled at all to catch fish. You know, there are definitely lulls in the bite, but over the last 2 trips out there, we have consistently been hooked up. If the fish isn't on a trigger minnow, it's on a fly, and if it's not on either one of those, it's been on a Trigger Spoon Junior most of the time. Anyway, that's what I'm pulling. That's what I've been relying on to put fish, you know, in the boat, put fish in the kayak for the last 6 weeks or so. We'll see what the next 6 weeks has to offer. I'm definitely going to be soaking more bait because I think we are in a rainy pattern here. We've got more rain coming in Saturday. We're just going to get more and more water in these lakes. We're going to get more and more color in the water, which is a good thing. I like to have nice full lakes come spring. So, you know, you deal with the conditions that are dealt to you. And when you get really cold, colored water, sometimes the best thing to do is spend a little time bait fishing and spend a little time trolling. When you have those conditions, the best trolling of the day is typically going to take place between about 11 and 2, because that's when the surface temperature is going to peak. Don't chase those deep marks. Your most active fish are going to be right up near the surface when the water's cold. So keep your lures in the top 10 or 15 feet of the water column. Adapt to the temperament of the fish. If those fish are cold, they're not going to be in a mood to chase. You guys show them something slower. Utilize scent. Be patient. Put in your time, and you're going to catch some nice fish. I'm out of here for now. I'm Kel Kellogg. Thanks for all the support, guys. And if you are looking for any of the gear I just mentioned, get on up to HS Fishing will hook you up with soft plastics, Trigger Spoon Juniors, trolling flies, lead core rods, and more. You guys have a very, very Merry Christmas, and I'll see you real soon right here on YouTube.